Hey, Michael, what's going on?
What is up, my sister Robyn? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. This is the first time that we're doing this, so it's a little terrifying. And also, I'm one of those people that likes to run around and jump around and move all the time. So inside of this little screen where I have to be mostly not moving is a bit of a challenge. And I'm up to it though. I'm up to it for my Staten Island.
Great, Michael. This has been a long time coming. So, for those who are watching and listening to us, we are Effective Expressions. We're a podcast through NYCID that wants to dive into the issues of Staten Island. We want to talk to the community members, including young people, and share the traumas, the challenges, and live through the successes.
You're probably wondering what is NYCID. What it isn't is the place where you go to get an ID. Actually, that's ID NYC, not NYCID. In fact, just this weekend on Twitter, we got tagged because somebody was really angry at the NYCID folks, but not our NYCID. We're actually New York Center for Interpersonal Development. I promise there will never be a test on that. And if you call in and say, hey, New York Center for Interpersonal Development, I know all about you guys, we'll absolutely love you for it because we like those that remember the entire name. So what is it? What are we? What do we exactly do? Well, first of all, we are 50 years old this year. We've been around long. Started way back when in 1970, just trying to help young people. And what we've grown into is an organization that helps families get through the tough stuff. We help the elderly maintain their dignity. We help youth see their full potential. We help neighbors effectively communicate and just get along. And what that means is that we're in all sorts of places and all sorts of spaces. We're in schools, we're in courts, we're in community spaces, trying to improve lives.
So, I know that NYCID's tagline is exactly what you just said, improving lives. How exactly does NYCID improve lives?
Well, let me talk about a personal experience. I think that would probably be the best way to do it. How does NYCID improve lives? I have had the joy, the benefit, the privilege, the absolute honor to help more than 2,500 young people get a high school diploma because NYCID has a program all the way out of Tottenville High School for all young people on Staten Island between the age of 17 and 21 years old that may have at some point in time fallen behind in school. Maybe they dropped out of school and they want to get that diploma. Well, what happens is they get to come back to school. They get to work with NYCID advocates who help them set goals and provide mentorship so that they can complete their high school diploma. So when I say we nurture personal growth, we help our kids see full potential. That means that we help young people every day graduate from one grade to another, get a high school diploma, finish a GED, have their first job experience, maybe in the summer with the Summer Youth Employment Program, which, by the way, if you know about it, my goodness, we need your help. So get out there and help us save SYEP. And
Mhm.
that's a little bit about how we improve lives every day.
That's excellent. So, we're using this podcast as a platform for Staten Island so that we can really showcase all of the good things that are on this island. Our island is a little piece of a bigger puzzle, and we can choose to put it together because, hey, who really wants to do a puzzle alone? So, on our first episode of Effective Expressions, we have the pleasure of interviewing the Candace Gonzalez, CEO of NYCID.
Indeed, the person who has helped for 23 years grow NYCID to ensure that we could get out there and help the community as much as possible. And truly, what we needed was somebody to christen our ship, right? Because this podcast is going to be going out to the entire world. And in order to get there, we need the right vehicle. So we're having Candace on as our very first guest, not to talk about ourselves, rather for everyone that is going to be listening to truly understand the vision and the commitment that NYCID is making to our community to find solutions and to celebrate successes.
I don't know about you, Michael, but I, for one, am excited.
I am so super excited, and I'm not jumping around because if I do, then our producer Adam is going to be all tape about it. So he's told me like 16 times, even in the last hour, to like not move. So I'm standing here with my hands in my pockets and I'm not moving. Hopefully, I'm doing a good job. Let's get started.
Let's get started.
Help more than 2,500 young people get a high school diploma.
Through all the challenges and the work that we do, we see clearly how we could best serve our communities.
We don't know what people are dealing with once they get behind closed doors. So I think that once we get our mission out there, once we let more people know what we do, why we're here, we want to restore, we want to heal, we want to find solutions, then we can kind of find a better way to deal with things.
Why do you think that not enough people know about conflict management?
I think that people misunderstand what the word mediator or mediation is, and they think that they can mediate their own problems or their family's problems, and what they don't really understand is that you have to be neutral.
What, the million-dollar question, is your love language?
Thinking about the person next to us and whether or not our actions, are going to affect that person.
What's up, everybody? My name is Robyn Piper. I'm the Summer Youth Employment Program Director at NYCID. Here with me, I have Michael.
Hey there, everyone. This is Michael DeVito, Associate Executive Director with NYCID, and welcome to the first ever podcast of Effective Expressions, where we are going to talk to our community to help solve the problems, identify the challenges, and talk through the trauma that we all face each and every day.
We want to give people of Staten Island a voice. We want to talk to our unsung heroes and really talk about the issues of Staten Island in a very open and safe way. This is a safe space for everyone that comes on the show. This is a safe space who are watching and want to comment and other things of that nature. So we just really want to talk and have, a great conversation with each other. So with us today, we have the CEO of NYCID, Ms. Candace Gonzalez. If you want to say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here today and launching our Effective Expressions podcast. It's exciting, and I'm very anxious to get started and let everybody hear our voices.
Absolutely.
Excellent, Candace. So welcome, and thank you for helping us christen our podcast this first time. A bit about yourself. Tell us how you arrived at NYCID. Tell us a little bit about your experience here on Staten Island, and how generally are you feeling lately?
So let's start with how generally I'm feeling lately, because we're in the midst of a pandemic. And it's been really challenging, but I think through all the challenges and the work that we do, we see clearly how we could best serve our community. So I'm feeling great. So that's how I feel today. How I got started at NYCID was sort of interesting because I had never heard of the organization. It was then YPIS of Staten Island. And I didn't know much about it. And I had a friend that introduced me to a women's networking group. They had the director of mediation for YPIS at that meeting talking about mediation and doing a couple of scenarios about what mediation was. And I was intrigued. I was hooked. And it captured me. I wanted to know more. There was a small training that I attended. I got doubly hooked. And from there, I took the full 30-hour mediation training. And in my experience, it's been a life-changing experience because it really taught me not just in my professional life how to communicate, but really taught to me in all aspects of my life, the best way for me to communicate effectively, to resolve conflicts effectively, to help others as an unbiased neutral, to help others have a facilitated, effective conversation where they could really, really resolve their conflicts, where they are the ones that are doing the hard work and not me telling them what they need to do. That to me was absolutely the epitome of resolving conflicts and keeping to the resolution.
That's great. And it really speaks to the purpose of this podcast, which is effective communication, effective expressing ourselves effectively, so on and so forth. Now, I have to ask you, do you have a favorite moment at NYCID? Do you have a most rewarding specific experience in your conflict mediation experience?
So there are many. I think that the ones that really are the ones that hit home, and I don't want to talk about a specific one, but the ones where people at the end of the mediation really understand each other, and even if they don't come to an agreement where they could agree to disagree, let's put it that way, you know that everybody was heard, and by hearing what the other person's point of view is, to me, is more effective than anything else, because then they could take that information and they could use it to resolve other conflicts in their life. So to me, those are the important moments and the nuggets that you get from any kind of mediation that you do.
Hearing so many really impactful statements that you're making there, even just now as you're speaking to not wanting to choose a particular instance. It's the purity of a mediation is that it's such a safe space, and that we protect those that are involved in the mediation, because we want to ensure that they can resolve their issue and their conflict be respected. So I think in our world, very often we don't talk about that very singular instance of a beautiful moment. Rather, it's the the whole piece of the puzzle that is the beauty of helping people be able to resolve their conflict. Also you're making some overtures around your own experience with mediation, your own experience with understanding what it means to resolve conflict, and to be in such a space. And so many people don't know about it. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that not enough people know about conflict management?
Well, that's a really interesting question, Michael. And I've been with NYCID for 24 years, and that question comes up all the time. I think that people misunderstand what the word mediator or mediation is, and they think that they can mediate their own problems or their family's problems. And what they don't really understand is that you have to be neutral. If you're not neutral, and people think they are, but once they are involved with the person or the subject matter, it is very difficult to be a neutral party at the table. So I think that people tend to think that they can resolve their own conflicts. They don't really understand the work that we do. So it's been our charge for the last several years to really get out into the community to help them understand what it is. I think that people that go through it really get it, and they're like, wow, you're the best kept secret there is. And how can I do more? And they get interested in the process. And it is a process. And that sometimes is an element to why people don't want to do it too, because it's a process and they want quick results. But wouldn't it be better that you resolve your own conflict and you decide what the resolution is going to be than going before a judge and him or her telling you that this is what you have to do, whether you like it or not? I can't think of anything more empowering than being able to make that resolution mine and owning it. That to me is more empowering than anything anybody could tell me what to do.
I think that's really important. because again, the goal of this podcast is to talk about effective communication, and we really want to use a restorative lens to heal, to find peace, and actually commit to a solution ourselves rather than having somebody find a solution for us. So,
You know, that's really interesting that you said that, Robyn. And I started out talking about the pandemic.
mhm.
First thing I said to my senior team when we knew that we were going to be sheltering in place was NYCID has a place here. There is absolutely a place for us to do that restorative work in the community, with families, in the schools, wherever it is, because people are going to feel angry. They're going to be fighting with their loved ones. The community may be in an uproar because businesses are closed. We can help people to come to terms with all of that, to deal with the trauma that they've been through, to really, really resolve all of those issues so that the community comes together. And when I say community, I don't just mean the community that we walk the sidewalks in. I mean our family communities, our religious communities, whatever the communities are, the school communities, we can help bring them together in a way to help them address their concerns and resolve some of the trauma that they're going through.
Right, I
Sure.
agree. I think that it's super important that you said that, because in the midst of this pandemic, people have been trapped in their homes, right? So
Mhm.
we do have some people that are trying to escape their homes. That's why they go to work. That's why they go to school. We don't know what people are dealing with once they get behind closed doors. So I think that once we get our mission out there, once we let more people know what we do, why we're here, we want to restore, we want to heal, we want to find solutions, then we can kind of tie it all together and kind of, find a better way to deal with things.
Yeah, absolutely. I,
Mhm.
we're here. We're here to help people, if whether it's in a Zoom or social distancing or however is the best way for us to help people. We're here to help them.
Mhm.
So as we christen this moment with under your leadership and with this idea that we're starting to roll out, where we're being told that more freedoms are being restored every day, and that we, for the most part, as a society, are going to be able to do what we do best, which is socialize, to be more social and to be able to move around more freely. And as we were alluding to earlier, I believe it was offline, we were discussing about the personal accountability that really goes into taking these next steps as a society. That each of us has to be thinking about the person next to us,
Mhm.
and whether or not our actions are going to affect that person. And I think that generally as a society we haven't been doing such the best job of that in a good long while. So how do we get to a space where where we can do that? And I think that often we think of things in terms of having a fresh start. So here we are, whether we liked it or not, we're being given a fresh start. And one of the things that we're trying to achieve here in the podcast is encouraging our community, and that's Staten Island and the world, to think about who they are when they're in conflict. How they react. And I'm not talking about the flight or freeze. I'm actually talking about how do you communicate. And one of the things that we've decided to do here was to use the Peace Institute survey to be able to have a conversation to show others that when you kind of get who you are as a person and how you communicate through conflict, that itself is empowering. So you
Yes,
took the survey.
I did.
Yeah. So we're putting you on the spot now. If you could
Okay.
tell us, what was the result? Who is Candace Gonzalez when she's conflicted?
Okay, so interestingly, and I wasn't surprised, to tell you the truth, I am a 91% problem solver. And if anybody knows me, I'm not afraid of conflict. And that's one thing that I learned as I develop my skills. And it's not because of my skills that I'm not afraid of. I never was afraid of it because I feel that conflict could be a good thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad word, because it gives you an idea of how the other person is thinking and what their expectations are. And one of the things that I always learn is to tell people, whether it's in business or in your personal life, what your expectations are. If you do that, and sometimes it's difficult to do, but if you do that, you'll have less conflict in your life because the other person will understand what is expected. Not necessarily agree, but you can have a conversation about how to develop that expectation and what suits the other person well and what suits you well. So people that know me know that I'm a problem solver. I don't want to resolve your problem by giving you the solution, though. That's the one thing that I don't want to do. I want to help you to resolve your conflict by talking it out, thinking about what different types of scenarios are, and where we can reach a really good approach to resolving whatever the problem is. And I think that and Michael could attest to this, in most situations, I would say that that's exactly how I operate. It's like, okay, let's think about this and let's talk about what options we have. So that was one area. So go through the rest of it.
So tell
You
us
can.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Tell us what's on your mind. How did all that make you feel?
Being a problem solver or just the survey itself?
The survey in general would be great.
Yeah, well, yeah, the survey. So the next thing is I'm a compromiser. So that helps me in resolving conflicts because I'm willing to give and take so that we can come to some kind of resolution. I'm not, this is the way it's going to be and that's the only way it's going to be. That doesn't help anybody. So compromising did not surprise me because I'm willing to meet you halfway. I'm willing to meet you where you're at, and then we can work from there. Lower on the grade on the survey was I'm an accommodator, and I guess I am. It says here that one of the weaknesses of being an accommodator is that you can build up resentment. And that's the one thing I try not to be, is a person that is resentful of anything. So if I'm feeling that, oh, this isn't working my way, I'll go back to the things that I do better to help me reach a better area where accommodation feels okay. And lowest on the totem pole is, oh no, there's two things, is avoidance, because I don't usually avoid. Only avoid if it's not going to serve a good purpose. If it's not going to help somebody or help me, and it's only going to cause, or if I recognize and analyze that it's going to cause hurt or harm, I will avoid it. All right, because that is not what I want to do. And the lowest of all is that a competitor. And I'm not, I am a competitive person by nature. But in this scenario, it's not about being, it's about being persuasive and direct. Now, I think I'm very direct, right? But I'm not the person that says it's my way or no way. I'm not direct in that way. So if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you a direct answer. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. So that was my survey. I felt like it was pretty spot on, actually. there was no surprises to me in there.
Well, as someone who has never had you beat around the bush, I attest to the truth of that. Go ahead, Robyn.
I was just going to say, so you pretty much expected your results to come out the way that they did.
I wasn't sure how they were going to come out. I always, every time I take any kind of test like this, like we did the Briggs-Myers and the DISC tests, and they come out pretty much spot on. But I'm always like, oh, how is this going to come out? Mm-hmm. I'm never really sure how it is, but when it did come out, it wasn't surprising to me.
So without any prior context to the conflict management style quiz, and just knowing that there's avoidance, there's competing, there's compromising, there's accommodating, and there's problem solving, without any prior knowledge, would you have guessed that you were a problem solver, or was there anything that you think you resonated more with?
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I am good at is problem solving. I've always been, I usually have like a knee gut reaction when I hear what the problem is, but then I immediately say, all right, step back, because I don't know if I'm talking with an angry voice or I'm talking, without getting all the details, because I want to hear all the specifics before I can help anybody or even help myself. I've done that my whole life, even without the training that I had, even with my kids. I always said, if you don't tell me all of everything that happened, there's not any chance I'm able to really help you in a really sincere way, where I can't help you in a half way. I can help you in a whole way, but I need to know what the facts are.
So do you think that in the workplace, everyone should know what their conflict management style is?
I think it could help. I really do. We have a team of people that are, experts in this that work with us. And I'm sure they know what their conflict style is. I think as a mediator, it's important to know what your conflict style is. I know that in some mediations, I had feelings of like tugging at me that I'm not going to come off in a neutral way, because I may have had an experience that was similar that didn't come out the way it is, that in my favor. So I may have felt that I might be biased in this situation. So I worked really hard when I was helping the participants to really take myself out of it. So I think it could be really, really helpful to know what your styles are.
Well, that is absolutely our goal here, to try to encourage everyone to look down below and to take the survey and to pass it around until everybody on the green earth can right away be able to recognize how they're processing and dealing with their conflict, and also how they show up every day and love their fellow human beings. Mm-hmm. So we had you do another survey.
Yes. I'm interested in this one because I have no idea what any of this means.
That's what I was going to ask you. So were you familiar with the love languages before you took the quiz?
No, not at all.
Okay. Do you want clarification before we go into your results? Clarification of what each love language represents?
No, I'm willing to out myself here. So I will say this. I didn't, when I went on there, I took it as a single person.
Okay.
Okay, because I wasn't because there's a different, for people that don't know, there's different categories like couples, singles, teens. So I felt like because we were just doing me and I wasn't doing it with my husband, that I took it as a single.
It's fine.
Okay. I don't
so
know.
what The $1,000,000 question, is your love language?
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 5 categories,
Yep.
right? So do we want to start with the first one, my highest one?
The highest, that is your love language.
Is acts of service.
Which doesn't surprise me because you are working in a nonprofit organization that lives to serve. So
Yeah, that didn't surprise me either. Yeah. So is there any underlying meaning other than what it actually says?
So the purpose of knowing your love language is knowing how you express love and knowing how you receive love, right? I
Mhm.
always put it into terms of food because I love food. I'm a foodie, right? So if we went to Chipotle, right? Or we were going to Chipotle, let's center it around a burrito. So receiving gifts is not necessarily a materialistic uh aspect. It's the thought that counts, right? So
Mhm.
in receiving gifts, you can say, here, I bought you a burrito, right? The fact that you thought about me, maybe it's 12 o'clock, maybe it's lunchtime. Here's a burrito for you to eat, right? That's receiving gifts. You have acts of service, which would be made you a burrito. I took the time to get the tortilla, the lettuce, the rice, the beans, whatever,
Mhm.
and I made you a burrito. Here you go, Candace, right? You have physical touch, right? Which is always kind of hard to explain in terms of food, but physical touch would be let me wrap my arms around you like a warm burrito in tortilla or something like that. Okay. You have quality time. Let's go to Chipotle and get a burrito together. And words of affirmation. Candace, this burrito that you made is delicious. It is so good. Great job. Okay. So, in that, that's how you express love. So, yours is acts of service. You like doing things for people, you like helping people, right? You also like when people help you, right? Because it's one thing to know your love language, but it's another to uh, express your love language or understand somebody else's love language, right? So your love language is acts of service, right? But mine's is receiving gifts. So let me ask you
Mhm.
this, Candace. What was your lowest scoring?
Receiving gifts.
That's funny, right? So
Yeah.
we're polar opposites. So
Yeah.
if I were to give you something and I said, "Oh, Candace, I went to Mexico. Here's a keychain that I got for you," you'd be like, "Cool, thanks." But for me, that's me saying, "Hey, Candace, I love you. Look, I was thinking about you," but it
Right.
doesn't really mean anything to you. And for you, if you were to say, "Here, Robyn, I made you a burrito," I'd be like, "All right, thanks. I appreciate it," but that's not how I receive love. That's not how I express love. So to wrap it around effective expression and effective communication, we have to speak and understand each other's love languages. It's really important to uh, have everyone have an understanding of how they express and receive love, because it doesn't make sense for me to speak to you in Spanish because that's what I speak, but you only understand French.
Right.
Make sense?
Correct. Correct.
So
Very
that's
interesting. Yeah.
Well,
Interesting. The other circles are words of affirmation, physical touch, and quality time. And the words of affirmation, physical touch are almost as high as the acts of service.
okay.
Yeah.
That, that's great. You
Yeah.
know,
so that means you, like me, and I'm sure that anybody could guess that I enjoy being wrapped in a beautiful warm burrito.
Yeah.
Absolutely wrapped. Please wrap yourself in a beautiful warm burrito. And if we
You're
can do that,
funny.
all the world will be golden indeed.
Yes, we would hope so, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Well, that is what we are doing here. We
Yeah.
are making the best attempt we can as Staten Islanders brand new to podcasting to show um, those that are in our community trying to figure out themselves every single day some ways to get along as tiny specks on this large white planet. We are all here and we are all just this big and even smaller. So, how do we work together to be more beautiful and more sentient?
Mhm.
Well, it's a heavy lift, but I believe that NYCID was built on the foundation of resolving conflicts. We've weaved it into all of our programs. We don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. All of our staff members, full-time staff members, are introduced to mediation and take the training, and hopefully they're using the skills in their professional and personal lives. It is a game changer. There's no doubt about it. And if more people understood how to effectively communicate, I think that we would be a kinder, more respectful world.
And I think that comes through having more conversations like these.
Yeah.
You know, getting people to understand, allowing people to express themselves in a safe space, allowing people to understand more about themselves, more about others. That's how we change the world, one person at a time.
One person at a time.
Thank you so much for joining us, Candace.
Yes, it was a pleasure.
My pleasure. I had fun, and I look forward to participating again.
Cool.
All righty.
Great.
And that our first session at Effective Expressions. We hope to see everyone again. Come back every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, and we look forward to seeing you soon.